Party.
So, all you Finnegans, plural, wake up. That's why there's no apostrophe. It's a whole bunch of Finnegans throughout myth and history awaking. I don't know many things, but that's one of them. So, I'm here not just to come at you with pedantry, in fact the opposite. I'm here to talk about a read-along some of us are doing later this year, April, May, June, of parts of this book, Finnegans Wake by James Joyce. So, why do this? Well, some of us read Ulysses and kind of enjoyed it. And this is on one level more challenging, but so many people say, but it's fun, fun, fun. I would be one of them. I've read it sort of in various ways a long time ago as a teeny tiny little art student who spent a lot of time in the library not being an artist. I picked up a shorter Finnegans Wake edited by Anthony Burgess. Anthony Burgess, the author of A Clockwork Orange, for instance, which is in a kind of a made-up language, so you know he should be one who should know.
In this story of an ordinary man, he saw a story of man's fall and man's resurrection. In a bigger sense, he saw a picture of his.
And this is great because you get great chunks of Finnegans Wake, kind of a best of set of things, and you get Anthony Burgess as your sort of guide through it. What could be better? Also, I have listened to the audiobook, which is really good, but I mean I wouldn't really claim that as a full reading, not because I don't think audiobooks are reading, but just because a lot of the time I was just letting the sort of musicality of it flow over me. Sometimes I was even asleep, so I like to think it was going directly into my subconscious, which would be kind of cool. So, what is this book about? It's an early 20th century sort of classic. I quite like the description that comes on the screen at the beginning of the movie. Yes, there's a movie from the mid-60s. It's kind of a elements of Finnegans Wake in a sort of visual poem almost, but it's quite fun, and yeah, starts like this with a quote from James Joyce, which makes sense really, doesn't it? One great part of every human existence is passed in a state which cannot be rendered sensible by the use of wide-awake language, cut and dry grammar, and go-ahead plot. So he's talking about being asleep. Finnegans Wake deals with the night world, with the subconscious and with dreams. Joyce felt that during the night man, this was the 60s, felt that during the night man must redeem himself by means of a quest, must refresh his powers through sleep, which takes him beyond himself into a world without definition. His goal is lucidity, a fresh awakening. The quest carries him through all history, which seems to be a constant process of waking. Finnegan, otherwise known as H.C. Earwicker or Here Comes Everybody, has two sons, Shem and Sean, who are also conflicting parts of himself which invade him, and his daughter Iseult, who is a younger manifestation of his wife, Anna-Livia Plurabelle, A.L.P., who is also his soul and the River Liffey. Finnegan must come to terms with these parts of himself, realise the dangers inherent in their extreme forms, and experience his reunited selfdom in order to wake up. So that's the sort of thing we're in for. Like, lots of playful language, you know, it's like dreams, it doesn't sort of make sense in that sort of normal way, but I'm here to tell you there's fun to be had.
Whack for the down when you dance to your partner down the floor with your trotters shake. Isn't it the truth? I tell you, lots of fun at Finnegans Wake.
What kind of fun? Well, there are certainly some passages of fantastic lyrical writing. You know, some of it is just so beautiful. I would challenge anyone who hasn't got a heart of stone to not to find it moving, at least. There's also puns, often terrible, and also like super erudite, but that's just Joyce doing his thing. You just go along with it, you know. The biggest brain professor in the world couldn't decode all of it, even if they spent their whole life doing nothing else. But now and again you spot the odd bit. It's a bit like anyone who does crossword puzzles. Sometimes you see the answer and you think, you know, the compiler, haha, good one, compiler. Like this, you can think, good one, Joyce, for the way he's either devised some, built in some kind of joke or jokes into a sentence or even a single word, or coined a new word that is actually really useful. Like fun for all for funeral, which we actually say in this little family group, is passed into our family lect speech. Also just reading it for the experience, you know, I talked about listening to it and it just kind of washes over you, which is fine, but also it's like, what is the experience of this particular genius author trying to write in the way of dreams and the subconscious, and so you're actually being immersed in a kind of you know, that kind of crazy psyche. Just what's it like? You could even just treat it as a kind of, well, I'm going to read some of it, see what I get out of it. It's the what's on the page's job to speak to me in some way. Let's see what happens. If you can look at an abstract painting or listen to music without words, then you can read Finnegans Wake and enjoy it to some extent, I would say. And a bunch of us are going to give it a try. So I know Alan, Big Hard Books and Classics, he's read it many times. He'll be on board. I think Debs from Rainer Reads Stuff will give it a go, and ditto Pat, Book Chat with Pat, and Roz scally-dandling about the books. So, and who knows more. So most of the action here is going to be on my Discord, where I've set up some channels, and as we work through the sections we're going to read, there'll be some discussion stuff there. Not sure how it's going to play out in video form. We'll see when we get there. Should say, you know, I did mention this before, but I think it was in part of a video that was about a lot of other things. The reading, we're not setting out to read it all. We're not starting at the beginning and working to the end, even though it's cyclical. The end is the beginning, but we're starting in I think it's the 7th section. So I came across an article called Finnegans Wake for Dummies by a Joyce scholar called Sebastian Knowles, and he talks about how, as a way of teaching it, he explored it with his students, starting with a chapter thought to be the easiest and working through in order of difficulty. Now that sounds like craziness, because how's that going to work? You know, you wouldn't do that with a James Patterson book and expect to get a decent result, but here we have a non-linear book. You know, it's sometimes described as being like a spiral, so I think we're allowed, we're the readers, we can do what we want, including that. So yeah, I don't know, I can't speak for whether it's a good approach or not. If you don't want to do that, if you're just going to read it like a regular person, or perhaps get the Burgess one, which has been reprinted recently, that's cool too, and we can still talk about it on the Discord. But it's not a scholarly exercise. We're just going to have a laugh. We're going to, all these people who say how hilarious it is, we're taking them at their word and plunging in to have some fun. That's the plan. What else can I tell you? What else can I tell you? That it's like a dream. That reading it that way, we will start at page 104, a section known as Mama Festa. And I'll read you the opening paragraph, partly because I really like it, and partly because you might see you might recognise, although these words are strange and they're made up words largely by Joyce, the author, you might recognise it too. And that's, you'll sort of see the kind of thing, kind of way some of this stuff works. In the name of Anna the All-Maziful, the ever-living, the bringer of plurabilities, haloed be her eve, her sing-time sung, her rill be run, unhemmed as it is uneven. Then we move into her untitled manifesta, memorialising the most highest has gone by many names at disjointed times. Thus we hear of Q, like 2 pages of punning titles that range from the sublime to the ridiculous. So that'll be our jumping off point when we start, like I said, April. So April, May, June. Not in a rush. 3 pages a day. You could read all of the bits we're going to read. And like I say, if you do it differently, read less than that, read like 1 page and throw it across the room. It's all good, man. Now, clearly you don't need anything apart from the book. Personally, my way of having fun with things includes reading around them. So I have got a hod full of books about Joyce and Finnegans Wake, including Joseph Campbell's Skeleton Key to Finnegans Wake, unlocking James Joyce's masterwork. So here you get some sort of orientation. You know, you get a little bit of a place to stand from this, I think, and a kind of guidance through it. So that should be good. Similar job is done by a Reader's Guide to Finnegans Wake, William York Tyndall. And for those moments when you spot something and think, I wonder what he might have meant by that, the crazy modernist. Annotations to Finnegans Wake, the Roland McHugh one, you basically get, so the pages of the book, you get this as a sort of, you could almost lay it on top of them and see those things picked out. I love the way this looks like the rolls that they put, the rolls of paper you get in a player piano. So that's a thing. John Gordon's Finnegans Wake plot summary. What? Haven't you just said there isn't a plot? This guy asserts that there is, and he proves it in this book. So for me, I like doing stuff like that. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but yeah, there it is. Another big Joyce fan is Robert Anton Wilson, author of the Illuminatus trilogy. Probably, and he's also, as well as being a Joyce enthusiast, is a big fan of Finnegans Wake. And he says, as Ulysses was the anatomy of one day in Dublin, Finnegans Wake is the encyclopedia of one night in Dublin. Where Ulysses has a normal daylight protagonist, Leopold Bloom, who travels through real streets, Finnegans Wake has a multiple protagonist. Not a character in the normal sense, a system function who wanders through the labyrinths of alternative realities. So, this is fun to me, and hopefully to some of you. I don't think I've got much more to say about that, except that we're starting in April. I'll come back on nearer the time to say, hey, we're doing that Finnegans Wake thing. Discord, link down below, is where we can talk about it, and we can have planning chats about, you know, which edition we're getting and all that kind of thing. So that's it. Back soon with something else. Bye.